Can you hear me there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Sean.
Okay, good.
I can't see you though.
Can't. Oh, here we go. There I am.
All right, you're looking good.
Same with you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You feeling okay?
Yeah, everybody's healthy. How about yourself and your family?
Yeah, yep, everybody's good thus far. So
Well, that's good.
hope we can keep it that way.
I know.
It's unreal.
Stressful. It is unreal.
It's amazing how you can do this though with this Zoom.
I know, right?
Yeah, we had our village board meeting last night on it. Worked out pretty good.
Oh, good. Good. Did you have any public in on it or?
We had a couple, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That worked out pretty good. So
Good.
we got a couple people upset, but other than that, there's nothing we can do.
Were you, I was going to kind of have you talk about this later on, but in terms of like planning and architectural review, are you doing any of that type of business or are you just paying bills and getting public works?
Mainly paying bills and that right now. We've postponed most of the meetings for a month, for the month of April. And then hopefully we'll be able to resume it in May.
Okay. Yeah, I had called Jason last week and he was probably waiting on the meeting last night to have a clearer sense of direction. That's, I at least anticipated May, in terms of any, I think the concern is having this, voting on decisions and you're potentially not getting a forum where people can voice opinions, if they don't have the technology.
Yeah, that's exactly what we ran into even last night. So
okay,
the hurdle we have to jump and move it. This isn't easy for me because I'm not computer savvy, that's for sure. But
I know, I was surprised to get an email from you. Did your wife teach you?
Well, she's doing a lot of it for me. That type of, she wants hazard pay. So, but it's all working out.
Good. Are the village staff doing all right? I haven't talked to Paul in a couple of weeks. I checked in with him.
He's doing pretty good. He's pretty much confined at his house over in Orchard Park. Paul is. Yeah, he's been in the office maybe 1 or 2 times just to get some information. Other than that, he's pretty much staying right at home and staying in. So
okay.
He had some laryngitis and that type of thing, but he's got that cured up now. So
good.
Always something, but he's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So you've been busy with your different funding stuff and everything?
It's it's hit or miss. I'll get maybe about a dozen calls a week, and we're looking at. I mean, it largely what I've been doing now is extending the loan program for people, like taking deferments for the Hamburg Development, the Community Development Loan Fund. So I'm going into the office after this call to print out some paperwork, but basically agreements where we'll put the loans on hold for up to 90 days, and then we'll kind of, hopefully that'll do it. Beyond that, we'll see, if we have to revisit it or restructure the loans.
Yeah, it's just sad, man, when you see go through uptown and just see everything closed right up. I mean, it's
yeah, it's empty.
Yeah.
Morning, Andy. I don't know. It says he's. Oh, okay.
How are you? This is Nate.
Hi, Nate. Good morning.
That's how I want to show up to a meeting. Hi, Mayor.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Hanging in there.
All right, buddy. Go, Mom. How are y'all?
Not bad.
Different world we live in.
There is, boy.
How are things at the village there, Mayor?
It's pretty good. It's, we're hanging in there. It's very difficult for business and people as a whole, but a lot of them are just out walking and doing things, and it's pretty hard to keep them apart, but it's working. It's working.
Everybody in your family healthy?
Yes, and yours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
I've got 2 in nursing, and then the other 2 are with the first aid squad as well. It's pretty hairy out there. So, but we've run across some scary calls, that type of thing. But they're doing the safety precautions and doing things the way they should. So, even with the fire department, they're not hanging out at the hall. The training's down now, but we've got to do what we got to do. So.
Most of the time, people will rise to the occasion, right?
You better believe it.
Sean, your family good?
Yeah, everybody's doing well. Hanging in there.
Have you lost your mind with your kids yet? I have.
I have my moments, I'll put it that way. It's tough. I mean, it's definitely the challenge of juggling all that and trying to keep them entertained is it's a lot of work. Like I said, Andy called me I don't know, what was it, about 7 or 8 o'clock one night, and I'm like, I was putting the kids to bed, and after that I was done. Like, yeah. Call them back in the morning, I was gassed. So but as long as everybody's healthy, you try to focus on what's important. And go by day, Yeah,
that's all you can do, really.
Yeah.
I just can't believe New York City, with the amount of dust there. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
This morning I saw in the paper where they're talking about maybe burying them in the parks.
Yeah.
But what a sad thing.
Yeah. This sad memorials and things like that when these families can't come together.
Oh yeah. Very difficult.
I see Mary's trying to pop in there. I don't know. It's still a little early. I wanted to get on this is my first hosting meeting with Zoom. Have you been using it, Andy?
No, I haven't been the administrator or hosting it, but we are starting to implement it in our church, and I've done a couple webinars with my work, but I'm not.
Okay.
Mayor, what do you guys plan on doing for meetings? You just postponing them till now or till later, I should say?
Well, our regular board meeting, we had a meeting last night on Zoom. We worked out with that all pretty good, but some people criticize because they didn't have the technology and they want to voice opinions and all this other stuff. So no matter what we try to do, you always got some naysayers there. But we're trying. This is a learning experience for me because I'm not really on computers and that. So my wife has been very good walking me through a lot of this stuff, and it's working. It's working. Not that I don't get nervous over it, but it works out.
Well, kudos to you for implementing it for the village, because people are always going to complain and they never have a solution.
Oh yeah. We got a couple that we hear from all the time. So
I bet
it works out. Yeah.
Hey, Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Davis.
I'm testing out these. I've never used these earbuds with the speaker on it or the microphone on it for a Zoom before. So I wasn't, do I sound all right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that Mary? I thought I heard Mary say fine. Huh, anyway.
She seems like she's muted. I don't know, see if I can. I don't know if she's muted on purpose.
Looks like she is.
And maybe she's holding out till everybody gets on there. How are you?
Kids scrambling around her.
Yeah, exactly. How are you and your family, Davis?
Oh, we're good. Two of my siblings are still, they're essential workers.
Okay.
So, they're still working, but, it's interesting. For once, having a big family really is nice because I'm never really bored. Like, I'm like, I hear a lot of other people, or I'm talking to people on the phone and, they don't have people to go outside and play basketball with or something like that. And I got that. So that's really nice.
Yeah. No, it certainly helps to pass the time, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, like people that live alone, you're kind of, maybe you got a neighbor or something like that, but
right.
You're and the elderly. I mean, you can't visit people in nursing homes and things like that. It's very like other than via things like this, and some of them just don't even get it. They're not,
right.
They don't have the capacity to, understand that you're talking to somebody on a screen.
Right. That's what's so hard is that's the population that probably is the most alone. There's so many in the nursing homes, especially, and they, it is hard for to use the technology.
Yeah.
But I know, a lot of nursing homes are doing a lot of, good things trying to help them.
Yeah, they're trying for sure.
Hey guys.
Hey, Cam.
Morning, Cam.
Good morning.
Mayor Moses, hats off to you for figuring out the Zoom.
Oh, thanks to my wife, I'm telling you, all worked out. We had a village board meeting on Zoom last night.
Oh, you did? How'd it go?
It went good. We got a few residents that are upset, but that always happens. But it's working.
We have our school board meeting tonight on a WebEx, so that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cam, how's your family?
Good. Everything's good. I'm getting good at second grade math.
Oh, you kids.
Hey, Bob. How are you, Bob?
I am doing much better, thank you. Things are getting better in my world of health, so
That's good.
I'm breathing.
Well, that's real good. Yeah.
My goal every day,
Wake up breathing.
If you hit the participant list, there's everybody there.
Jennifer, Davis.
Morning.
Hi,
Morning.
Jennifer. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Mary was on, but I don't know if she's having some connection issues.
Looks like she's on mute.
Okay. Oh, is she back there? Okay. Oh, you know what? Maybe
I don't know what view.
Yeah.
If you go, I have like a grid.
I see it.
See everybody.
Yeah. Can isolate it a little smaller. Hi, Norma. I didn't see you there. Let's see.
Yeah.
Still connecting. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Norma, can you hear us?
Barely.
Let's see. Maybe try. Yeah, try your volume.
Barely hear you.
I got my speaker at 55%, Norma. There's a speaker. If you're doing it right off your computer.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Good, and you?
Good. What's going on?
Well, trying to stay healthy. That's for sure. Everybody healthy in your family?
So far.
So far, so good.
Well, the kid is quarantined anyway because they're quarantining all the flight crews to keep them healthy
Oh,
at home.
yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
he's quarantined for 2 to 3 weeks. Then he flies once and he gets back into quarantine for another 2 to 3 weeks till he flies again.
Oh, man.
Wow.
It's tough.
How about you?
Yeah, everything's going pretty good. You know, we got our challenges ahead of us with the people in the village. There's no doubt, and throughout. A lot of them just don't believe that it's happening and don't really think, you know, it's going to happen to them. So
I see a lot of the restaurants are doing pretty well on the takeout idea.
Yes, they are. They're doing good with that overall. They really come together close, and they're working close together to make things happen. So,
well, I called up for who was it the one night? I don't know, one of the restaurants, and it was going to be 2 hours. Called the next one, same thing. I said, well, that's good news.
yeah.
Called back the next day earlier. That's all.
Yep. That's a tough part, trying to get a schedule down. So,
Hi, Tom.
Morning,
This is
Norma.
Norma here.
Yeah.
I have a question. We'll be coming home in 2 weeks. Will I have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks once I get back to Hamburg?
probably be advisable to make sure that everything would be fine for you, that type of thing. To be on the safe side, I would definitely, you know, consider that.
Okay, because down here, there's very few cases going on, but I know you're kind of rampant up there in New York State.
Yeah, we've had quite a few, you know, just in the last few days. There's no doubt it's growing, but hopefully we can reach that peak and start on the downswing. But at this point, who knows what's going to happen here now. Baker Manor, the nursing home over in Orchard Park, that was hit pretty hard just 2 days ago.
Oh, that's too bad. Wow.
Almost better to stay in Florida.
It
Yeah.
is, except I have a bunch of appointments, doctor's appointments, beginning of May.
You do all
So-
video conferencing now.
Yeah.
You can set it all up on video conferencing, all your doctor's appointments. A lot of them are all doing that, Norma. I do
Yeah,
it.
well,
Everybody.
one of them is a procedure, which I
Oh,
don't think.
okay, well,
we
that's a
can do
different
during-
Yeah, I know. I gotta go in Friday. I gotta go. And the only person allowed in the office is you. You can't even bring your husband or wife in.
Oh,
To the office.
yeah.
It's all
Wow.
one person now. I gotta go in Friday for some more testing.
All right, it's 34 minutes after the hour. I'll get started with roll call, more as a formality. I think everybody knows who's out there, but I'll go through that and then a motion to open the meeting. Andy Palmer,
Here.
Cam Hall. He's on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Mayor Moses,
Here,
Mr. Reynolds,
Present.
Ms. Norma Russert Kelly,
Here,
Davis Podkolski,
Here.
Bob Hutchison,
Here,
and then we have Jennifer Strong.
Hi,
Mary's
everyone. I'm
having-
here now.
Oh, good.
I'm here. I'm back.
Mary.
I don't know where my video is, but that's okay.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
And I believe Francesca's on as well. She's unmuted, but we have guests on. Be conducting this as a public meeting. And it will be recorded and posted to our website. So we'll be all in compliance as much as we can at this stage of the game. Could I please have a motion to open the meeting at 7:35?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Norma and Mayor. Andy, did you want to kind of open up with some comments, please?
Yeah. I would. Just good morning, everyone. I wanted to I made a couple notes here, and this is my first Zoom meeting. I've done some webinars, but never Zoom, so bear with me. First off, you know, we face something that none of us have ever faced right now, especially in the capacity as a board. You think of 9/11, you think of 2008, the financial crash, and now we live through a pandemic, and it's serious. But I heard something this morning. I I listen to talk radio quite often. Normally those are pretty negative things, but this was a good saying. It's like we need to be a victor, not a victim. It's a mentality. It's not something that we ignore the facts of the situation and be all warm and fuzzy positive, but we have the circumstance where we're on a board to further the community of Hamburg with development. And right now that we need to grasp that and do what we can in a situation that we have. And I think we just embrace that as a board, and we embrace it as individuals also. Be a victor, not a victim. We need to accomplish what we can. And that's why I kind of asked Sean and Mary to get together with the policies that we can review, get it done. So when it comes time again, and it will be a time again, hopefully soon, we get back to business as normal, where we are not encumbered by these policy reviews, that we'll go and hopefully see tons of projects and further this community. And that's the end goal of this board. So I just wanted to say that I'm really appreciative of you guys being so proactive. And again, just, it helps me, you know, I'm in the house with 5 kids. I'm trying to work from home with my wife. Yeah, Norma, exactly. It's crazy sometimes, but we need to be not a victim. We cannot be a victim. We need to be a victor. So if you remember anything from me, remember that. And thank you again for your participation. Sean.
Thank you. Next, I would like to review the minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mary, was it? Thank you. Who was that? Bob?
Bob, yeah.
Thank you, Bob. Second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Andy. And we're going to do a quick roll call voting just in terms of the video conferencing. So Mayor Moses?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, motion of minutes are
Bob
approved.
Hutchinson. Don't forget.
Oh, did I? The other Bob? No, I counted you because you made the motion. So Bob H.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, now you have the floor, Mr. Reynolds.
Everybody, I hope you had a chance to review the audit stuff like this, the audit reports for the IDA. Just over real quickly, we have at the end of the year, we had $701,438 in our net cash position. As the audit committee went over everything, there really was no red flag to me. Just a general operating decrease this year, quite significantly from last year, and that was due to the litigation and settlement costs resolve the dispute in the prior year. Just so everybody wonders why we made more money and we're in better financial shape. The operating cost this year was around $36,110. So as of December 31st, 2019 and 2018, the agency had no long-term debt. So we have no debt on the books. And the last thing I wanted to point out before I ask for approval, at the end of this, on page 15, it says the results of the test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under the government auditing standards. The report is intended solely for information use of management, the audit committee, and the board of directors and federal awarding agencies and pass-through agencies. It's not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than specific parties. And that was from our auditors. Just so I want to put that part of the video. It's a good part of the video. So on that, unless there's any questions from the board, I'll take some questions now as head of the audit committee. Seeing none, I make a motion that we approve the 2019 audit that was done for the year ending December 31st, 2019.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob and Davis. Mayor Moses?
Yes.
Andy Palmer?
Yes.
Cam Hall?
Yep.
Bob Hutchison?
Yes.
Okay, the financial report of the treasurer is approved. Just a quick couple of notes. We will we have not been doing this, but after reviewing our policies, these audits, even though they're put out on our website, they're not specifically filed with the town. So we will file it with the clerk, similar fashion as we do with our budget. And then we will review, just due to the a thick agenda today, we will review the February and March year to date and do a Q1 variance analysis in our meeting later this month. So just so you know where that's at. Next, just an update.
Just one more update for the board on finance, just so everybody knows that we're still doing our monthly treasures, but as the last one was in February, we had liabilities of $682,051 because of some of our expenses and stuff. So we are still following. Mary still sends me reports. If there's any questions on finance, please direct it to Mary and myself, and we'll try to get you an answer on that, just so the board has that too. So we're still doing our monthly quarters. We hope to have one out in April, and we'll try to share it when we get it done. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Just a quick update as to the climate that you all well know out there as to what's going on, but more so locally, we have the Hamburg Development Corporation, our business loan fund. We have our Land Corp, and then also the IDA. So I've been working to share resources as they are available with our business community. So those resources generally consist of support through the Small Business Administration as provided through the CARE Act, and then through local banks through the Payroll Protection Program. So as an agency, I've received training as to how to advise businesses that are struggling to apply for these programs. So that's essentially where businesses are. The next step in paying attention to this is to really see when these payments and when these applications are going to be processed. The volume is immense and really unprecedented. So it'll be interesting to see, due to the consumption and the need out there, when these checks are going to be distributed or the payments are going to be put forth. They are largely loan programs, so it's important to clarify to the business community that they're encumbering more debt at this time. Additionally, I refer to it as we because it's kind of a task force between the South Towns Chamber of Commerce, our office, and then also the Small Business Administration. We've been in close communication, but we've been working with businesses to really prioritize, essentially, as their cash flow is drying up and their working capital is being erased. They need to, take actions to defer payments whenever possible, to work with their landlords to hopefully work out lease arrangements or accommodations via their lease. Take whatever means they can to essentially survive through this, hopefully temporary period. Initially, I think we were all kind of thinking April was going to be the month, but now the more you kind of face reality, I guess, I think we're going to be into May before you're going to have executive orders released that allow people to resume their daily activities, and maybe even beyond that. So it's certainly tough times. We have a number of loan fund recipients through the Hamburg Development Corporation. And right now we're doing fine with the loans. We have actually, we had a board meeting about a week ago, actually, and we made a motion and approved a motion to allow people to defer payments for up to 90 days if they need it due to financial hardship due to the COVID-19 issues going on. So we've made some accommodations, and essentially what we will do is not accrue interest for a temporary period of time, and just resume payments, have a signed agreement from the company, and then also the loan recipient, and then hopefully resume payments 90 days out, so we can offer some relief there. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you. And certainly,
If I could, Sean, good job. I appreciate you stepping up and getting involved with the other organizations there.
thank you. And if people, we put information forth on social media as much as we can to fan out notifications, reach out to our business partners. But, in your daily business, in your various boards and activities that you're on, certainly if someone is struggling, we have available funds in the loan fund where we can lend working capital and go towards a more business retention component than expansion, because there's largely no expansion going on at this time. So we can focus on that and support businesses in certain manners as well. The last item that I wanted to cover that was on the agenda is we are working with the county, the Industrial Development Agency Leadership Council that I am on, to update our uniform tax exemption policy. The policy is rather old, and I know Bob Reynolds has participated, and we've done some updating. The process has been kind of taking a long time, but we're getting very close. So it's at a point where I feel we should share it with the board. We're not going to be approving it at this time, but to offer some insight, and you can pass along the information to your various school districts as well, as this will impact all the taxing jurisdictions. The main thing, and I apologize, this is a draft scoring worksheet, so it kind of got kicked over to a second page. So there's a little bit of a formatting issue. But the existing pilot schedules are the largest change to the program. And the discussions that ensued were a lot of the adaptive reuse projects that are out there. They generally don't have the same employment facilitated. They don't facilitate the same amount of employment as an industrial manufacturer, research and development, or back office type operation would. So we've looked at essentially a 5-year pilot. So this would be a new component of the uniform tax exemption policy, of which projects that largely, you can meet certain criteria and score up and be eligible for a 7 or 10, but largely these adaptive reuse projects would fall into a new 5-year category. So once this UTEP would be approved, once and if it would be approved, then new adaptive reuse applicants, depending again on the point scoring matrix, may fall into this category. So that is one substantial change. Another change that's not as substantial is the pilot schedule itself. The county wanted to structure the tiered incentives so that the percentage of financial assistance decreases each year. Currently, our model will maintain for 2 or even 3 years at time at the same discount rate. Going forward, what they're proposing is that the discount would decrease each and every year. So if you can see in the second half of the page towards the bottom, you will see the new pilot schedules, and you will see, for instance, the 10-year goes from 95 to 90, 85, couple of years, 80 a couple of years, but it tends to kind of ramp down in a fashion that doesn't tier it as long as the last one did. We've also gone forward
Sean,
to calculate. Oh, go ahead, Andy.
it's Cam.
Cam.
Would that change the overall benefits of the program to the recipients, or would it just would it just change the years in which they recognize the most benefit?
It would. It actually, the net present value between, so the change in overall benefits with the new program, it does increase just a little bit. So with the new tiering, you'll see if you look where it says net present value or the pilot benefits, however you want to compare it, there's an increase of, roughly, let's see here, 796 to 807. So roughly $10,000.
I see. Yeah, I wasn't
The
looking at that
10-year
line.
pilot
Yeah.
schedule. That's okay. That's okay. That's why I wanted to walk everyone through this. Now, what is actually less generous if this is approved through the county and then through our board and our taxing jurisdictions, we will send notifications as this proceeds into a more, we'll do a public hearing. We'll send notices to the taxing jurisdictions. Is this 5-year pilot? So the 5-year pilot, if you notice, it is less financial assistance than the 7-year. But this allows for a boost in the adaptive reuse projects, so it provides some additional financial assistance. It provides some solid financial assistance to these adaptive reuse projects, but also, leans our matrix toward that other priority of ours, which is the job creation component.
But it's also making some adaptive reuse projects eligible with this new scoring system that might not have otherwise been, given their lack of propensity to create jobs.
Yeah, it's I think what it does is it allows. I think it always, the change in the policy is not going to allow projects that currently are ineligible, but it offers, at times we feel that the financial support, when looking at the taxing jurisdictions, is a little too generous because the job creation isn't there. And there's an impact, to the taxing jurisdictions. So this is a little bit less of financial assistance to provide to these agencies. Now, again, they're not ineligible for the 7-year. They may have a mix of affordable housing. There might be other scoring points on that would boost them to a 7. But I think it just should give the taxing jurisdictions a little bit more comfort in these adaptive reuse projects that, again, may not have the job creation. So for instance, you might have a multifamily project that provides less than 5 jobs. And so I think this provides a suitable accommodation to provide financial assistance, but not be a large burden on the taxing jurisdictions.
If I could just jump in 1 second, Cam, just remember that one Quick Lube store that we looked at in Bedford? That might be an example of adaptive reuse when we try to get that up and running on the corner there for 5 years. And if you look at what we were talking about, we went 75% max at the start. So that was, if you remember that Quick Lube down on McKinley and Lake Shore, that might be a perfect place for something like that coming, because they might only end up with 5 workers or 6 workers there, but it would help them out that way. That's what they're kind of looking at. So I think it might help out some of our businesses that are falling possibly in disarray that we can get them forward. We don't know, they got to fill everything out, but they might be able to come in, restore building and get 5 jobs, 10 jobs out of it, whatever they get. And we did it at the county did it at a 35% is the last year, which is pretty significant decrease compared to the other ones. The other one that was taken away too that Sean talked about was a 10-year enhancement. They took that program, the enhancement program, away. Sean was part of that too out there when we were sitting talking, which is, they just went with 3 basic programs. I think that's very beneficial.
Hey, what is the 485B? Excuse my ignorance.
The
Property tax exemption that's in place. It's been in place for a number of years, probably almost 35, 40 years, that the state put in place. And it was a sliding scale exemption that you, at one point you had to spend, $20,000 in new construction, and then any increase in the assessment was decreased by 50% the first year, 45, 40. It slid down to 5, and after 10 years, it zeroed itself out. But the town, the county, and the school, they could opt in or out. So for a long time, just the county had it, because the town of Hamburg, I think, opted out. The school districts opted out. Other towns, the county, and the schools all had the exemption in place.
If I'm reading this correctly, Sean, so the new pilot schedules does not include the 10-year enhanced and will not include the 485B.
Correct. We can, in similar fashion to Erie Wind, we can deviate from the policy. So if it's a program that's atypical, like the wind power or solar, at least at this time, or if there's a tremendous amount of investment in the community or job creation, the board could come together with a policy that may deviate from this agreed upon, but we just have to provide the appropriate notification to all the taxing jurisdictions in the county.
Thank you.
Here's a question. Should there be some consideration, based on what we're seeing today with this pandemic? We can't make anything in this country. There's a lot of products that we really depend on that we can't get our hands on easily. Should we give some consideration to those companies that want to bring jobs back here, or want to manufacture a product that's difficult that we're not getting now? Some of the parts with those ventilators, masks, things like that. It could become electronics in the future, parts for your military and so forth. Any consideration or a special pilot for companies that do bring jobs back to the U.S.?
We haven't talked about that, just simply due to the timing of reviewing this before the pandemic. There is, where I think that makes sense, and this is a good segue. There's the scoring worksheet on the first page. We could potentially look at adding some specific businesses in, I would think, that strategic industry category, kind of on that bubble sheet. So what this would allow, what the scoring does, and this is the same thing that we do for existing projects, is we rate them in terms of a number of categories. These are modified. This is updated. And then based upon that rating is generally where the pilot would fall. Does it go for a 5-year, a 7-year, or a 10-year pilot? So we could potentially look at, adding some categories, or if there are other edits on here that you think would make sense to provide additional financial incentive vis-a-vis, they would score more points and then potentially go from a 7-year to a 10-year, or from a 10-year to a deviated type of financial incentive based upon either the industry or the employment that they're bringing to our region.
I agree with that. A different category, or adding some bonus points for maybe particular industries, and maybe, like you say, a deviated pilot. I have no problem with that. I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Sean, just for a notification, we've been on almost a half an hour. Are we going to get kicked off?
No, we're okay. We have an upgraded version, so we're recording and
Okay.
we're okay with time. and another update that I failed in the director report as I wrap that up, I receive notifications in terms of special product need. And we do have area manufacturers that make gas handling devices, parts for ventilators, machining components, additive manufacturing components. So essentially the 3D printing facilities. So we're providing that information to companies like K Technology, KH Industries, Staub Machining. Those are some companies that are really providing some crucial components at this time in our town of Hamburg. So, that brings to light, Bob, even more evident your point of looking at some modifications to that to provide additional financial incentive to the companies that have these critical manufacturing components. Okay, thank you. I will keep you in the loop, but again, that's getting closer. We hope to really have a final draft, I would think, in the next month. Unfinished business, we have, Mary, I don't know if you're still in mute. Are there a couple people out there that still need to submit their sexual harassment training forms?
Yep.
Okay. In short words. So please reach out to us. Again, now is a good time to get those items taken care of. We can provide you with links where you can get some resources and do that remotely. And probably takes about an hour, and then we can check that box off and put that to the completed line of items. Next, getting into the policy review, jumping around a little bit, but we had the conflict of interest policy. Excuse me while I grab my paperwork here. The conflict of interest policy we read through, and we noticed that it didn't make a lot of sense. So what I did was I revised the policy, and as I skip through my policy packet here, I molded this in similar fashion to the county IDA into a code of ethics and a conflict of interest policy. It seems to make more sense. If you recall, the existing policy recommends that if a board member of the agency has a real or perceived conflict of interest, he or she should resign from the agency. And we thought that would not make sense. We thought it would make more sense if they would simply convey the real or perceived conflict of interest, to essentially communicate that to the board, and then essentially recuse themselves from all discussion and all voting on a real or perceived conflict of interest. So that is the revised policy.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Can I consider that a motion to approve, Andy?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bob Hutchison. And Mayor Moses?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Bob Reynolds?
Yes.
Cam Hall?
Yes.
Norma Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you. That policy is adopted as amended. 4307 South Park Avenue. We had an executive committee meeting in which we reviewed a letter regarding the status. There was a change in the proposed use of the facility there. So I will be sending a notice off to the project operator as per our policy guidelines on recapture. And then we will give the project operator an opportunity to address the board and to talk about what's going on with the project. And then the board as a whole can make a determination in light of our existing policy as to how we will maintain or modify the financial assistance provided. So there's an update on that. Any questions on that? No matter to vote on. Okay. Under new business, just a quick update. And again, this was discussed in our executive committee. And I've been talking to Jennifer about this. We received a notice of claim to the Hamburg Industrial Development Agency through Cheektowaga Concrete LLC. There was an injury on some property that was owned by Cheektowaga Concrete. Because at one point we were named in the deed to the property, we were also named in this lawsuit for this personal injury. So we had to employ an attorney to essentially represent us on this matter. It was the Collins firm, and the Collins firm requested a 50H hearing in which we were able to ask questions on behalf of the IDA, and the hearing was recorded by a court reporter. Jennifer did provide the quit claim deed that showed, I believe it was since 2017.
Right, it was a few years ago.
Yeah, since 2 years ago, we've had no interest whatsoever in this property. The property was reconveyed, and since this injury happened in 2019, we have really no connection. However, we just wanted to be sure we had accurate representation on this. So that matter is now essentially tabled. We will see. We have, I believe, 12 months from this point, from the 50H hearing forward, to see if we'll be essentially sued. But I believe there's no legal standing that Cheektowaga or the injured victim, the injured party, would have against the IDA.
And if they did bring the lawsuit against the IDA, the attorney would make a quick motion to have you removed. Of course, it's going to cost the IDA money.
Yes. So there was an expense associated with this. Actually, the Collins firm was very fair. So right now, the cost of representing the IDA on this matter was $500, and that included not only the attorney's time, but the court recording fees. But this was an unforeseen expense, but we do have budget monies available in our legal fees category. So we're okay in terms of our budget variance, but this was an unforeseen expense.
Aren't we indemnified in cases like that through our agreement that we don't pay for it? Or since this was after, we've
Right, the transaction, the project had ended.
ended. So should we try to build something like that in? If we get pulled into a lawsuit within like 5 years or something of the project ending, we're still indemnified by the person that had the agreement with us, by the company.
We can try and see if they'll agree to it. I don't know that anyone would ever agree to any continuing indemnification after the project ends, but it never hurts to try.
Well, it seems irrelevant because someone could still sue us and we'd still have to go pay an attorney to defend ourselves.
Right.
What's the point? We're indemnified now in a different way, but because we have zero interest in it.
But it still costs us money.
There's no way around that. I don't think, right?
Not really.
Yeah, I did, and the Collins firm, they're the trial attorneys. So this is what they do. And that was my question to Joe was, what could, are there steps that we could take to proactively avoid this type of situation? And he said no. He said, you almost make yourself more liable if there's an agreement that goes beyond, the involvement with the IDA. It almost seems like it was an oversight on behalf of the injured party, with their firm to name the IDA.
I think that's it exactly. They made a mistake.
Yeah, so it was just more of an odd occurrence, hopefully, but one that, in discussion with the supervisor, the town attorney, and Jennifer and our executive committee, we recommended that we don't ignore the notice of claim, that we respond to the extent practicable. So it's annoying. That's what it is. Okay, the next item is as of March 31st, our filings with the Authority Budget Office and the Public Authority Reporting Information System, PARIS, is complete thanks to Mary. Mary was able to continue her work right when we were on the cusp of this shutdown in terms of essential and non-essential employees. I authorized the purchase of a laptop computer, so Mary's been able to function remotely and get that reporting complete. Certainly, we have been talking via text and via voice to get that done. So that's as always, each year a tremendous undertaking, and thank you, Mary, for that. And it can be found, once it's approved by the Authority Budget Office, out on their website.
Thanks, Mary.
Yep.
Okay. And last item under new business is our policy review. I hope you all don't go running, but this is part 1 of 2. So as I started looking to update this, I felt that, even with, we got the roll call voting going on, that there was a lot of information here. So I broke it up over 2 meetings. So this is meeting 1, where we will go through and review these policies. And as Andy mentioned, now is a good time to do some housekeeping. And I believe many of these policies have not been revisited in a number of years. So whether there's changes or not, I believe it's a good and opportune time to review.
Hey, Sean, you're on mute, I think.
Hey, Sean, we lost you. Anybody read lips? Sean, we cannot hear you. Sean. Raise my hand. Let's see what that does. We cannot hear you. How's that, guys? I did it. Sign language.
Nice.
Here. Cannot hear you.
There you are. You there?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry about
I'm lowering my hand now.
I saw the hand up there. Okay. Let me
You're
recap.
trying to do sign language or read lips, but it's not working, Sean.
You couldn't read my lips?
No wonder you wanted this policy through.
Yeah, exactly.
We should have left it just muted out.
Just mute it out. All in favor.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know where I cut off, but I'm going to introduce these policies, and then we can talk about any questions that the board may have, or I or Mary, as we read through these, or Jennifer, we had some questions. If there's light modifications, we'll make a motion to approve or approve as amended. If we find there's some more substantial changes, similar to the Code of Ethics and Conflict of Interest, we'll table it, rewrite it, and bring it back to the board in a following meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Jennifer, you reviewed all these for legal.
Yes, they are still up to snuff per the state laws.
Okay, Thank you.
And Sean and Mary and I did go over some specific questions yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the first item on the agenda is the audit committee charter. Does anyone have any questions on that or comments?
Seems pretty standard for an audit committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Cam. Amir Moses,
Yes.
Chairman Palmer,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Norma,
Yes.
and Bob H.
Yes.
Okay, the audit committee policy is approved. The next item is the bylaws for the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Were there any changes to this? I didn't like cross-reference it. But.
No. So this is our current policy. So at this point, I actually do have a couple of questions, and then that may lead to some proposed changes. So this is what I submitted to you guys via U.S. mail is the policy as it currently stands.
So what's the item on the table then at the moment? Are we?
So one thing that that I wanted to talk about is that at our next annual meeting, we do not currently have assistant secretary, assistant treasurer positions filled. So I would like to get that up to snuff in terms of the remaining committees that the bylaws speak to and the assistant positions. One item which was more of a question for Jennifer, a couple of questions for Jennifer, but one is, as it reads, it says roll call voting. Let me see here. It was basically, Jennifer, under section 6, manner of voting, says of all questions coming before the agency shall be by roll call.
I believe we should correct that going forward and do all resolutions by roll call.
Okay, so all resolutions, not motions, or both?
Generally, you do resolutions by roll call and motions by polling the board.
Okay.
It's often easier, though, for the person running the meeting to just be consistent and do roll call vote for everything.
Okay.
So as not to get confused between resolutions and motions.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments to that change where we would essentially not change it, but enforce that? If everyone's all right with that. The other item that I'm confused on is it does not speak to how the chairman is appointed specifically. Under, what I can recall, in section 7, it talks about the appointment of officers. And it says pretty much standard what you would think in terms of agency member shall, where does it say? All officers of the agency except the first chairman shall be appointed at the annual meeting of the agency. It doesn't speak to specifics on how the chairman becomes appointed.
We probably should specify that. You're right, because if there were a time where it was contentious, then how would you determine?
Yeah.
Could you just say via majority opinion of the board or majority vote of the board?
Yeah. And that's essentially how the other positions work. I mean, Jennifer, would it make sense if we removed that language except the first chairman?
Yes.
And it would speak to all officers?
Right.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments on the bylaws?
I want to just go back a second. Jennifer, could we show a hand vote as a voice vote where we raise our hands at a meeting for and against whether it's a motion or resolution to speed things up a little, or we have to do voice?
You have to do voice, so it's picked up in the recording.
Okay. In other words, you could have 6-1 or something like that, a hand vote, but
Right.
you have to do voice.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do we normally note the nays or abstentions in the minutes? I can't remember.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yes. So that is noted.
So are you looking for a motion to approve this policy as amended?
Motion to approve as amended with updating section 7 to remove that, except the first chairman. Yes, please.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Cam.
I'll second.
Thank you, Andy. Mayor Moses,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bob Reynolds,
Yes.
Norma Kelly,
Yes.
Bob Hutchison.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. The next item would be to we have, did I mute you guys again? No. We approved the new policy, so I would like a motion to remove the existing code of ethics policy by replacing it with the revised code of ethics and conflict of interest policy.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Norma. Bob,
Hey,
did you second
Sean,
Bob
real-
H?
Chair, I second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, guys. Just real quick, Sean.
Sure.
It says in the code of ethics here, if I'm reading it properly, it doesn't specify the abstain. That I don't see it. Can you point out where it is?
So the policy that, if you look, it has page 14 at the top.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so this one we're essentially removing because it doesn't provide that accommodation. The one that we approved in the unfinished business provides that accommodation.
Sounds good.
So this one essentially was asking the member to resign from the agency. Okay, so we're in terms of who made the first motion, I'm sorry, Norma? Was
Yes.
it Norma? And second,
I seconded it.
thanks, Bob. Mayor Moses,
Yes.
Chairman,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Bob Reynolds,
Yes.
Cam Hall,
Aye.
thank you. Next item is the agency combined fee schedule. My only comment is this one, if the UTEP is approved and amended, that will then trigger an update to the combined fee schedule. But for now, I don't see any need for any modifications at this time.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Andy.
Second.
I'll second it.
Go ahead, Norma.
Okay. Mayor Moses,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bob Reynolds,
Yes.
Cam Hall,
Aye.
and okay, that one is approved. No changes. Next is the data gathering procedure. One item of comment that Mary and I had reviewed with Jennifer yesterday is currently we do not employ or solicit independent auditors to execute the data gathering procedures. It's not required by state law. It is required that we gather the data, but it's not required that we employ an independent auditor. I don't know if people feel that we should do that. Currently, to my knowledge, at least in Western New York, the standard is that the office solicits and collates that data. It's not performed independently. If we are audited by the Authority Budget Office, we would be required to provide the hard copy documentation, so the reports that would be submitted by the project operators to evidence the data. So there is some backup there. But essentially, if we would want to employ an independent auditor, we could. It would just be an added expense.
Jennifer, what's your opinion?
I don't see the need to spend the money for an independent auditor.
Okay.
Totally agree.
Okay. My legal counsel says I'm good.
Okay.
So we have to remove that. What line are we removing it from, Sean?
So it would be on page 24. I would like to modify confirm prepared by independent auditor, signed by agency chairman. We could revise that to confirm prepared by internal audit and continue as signed by agency chairman, if people would be in favor of that.
I so
I like that language.
Yeah.
The other item that we will modify, just so the board understands, is that we are going to update the dates so they better correlate with the Paris reporting deadlines. So essentially, I think, Mary, do you want to speak to that? We'll probably kick it forward a month.
Yes, it was like the date, the confirmation request will be mailed to be January 15th, and everything kind of moves up. Then it would be they return by February 15th, and then we start asking if they didn't return them by the end of February. I would say February 28th. And then if we haven't received them by, March 1st, or March, the first week in March, then we start contacting them.
So Mary, break this down. The first date's December 30th, right?
No, the first date is like January 15th.
January
And then it goes-
15th? Okay,
Right, and then February 15th, and
February.
then the end is like February 28th, and then we usually by the second week in March, if they haven't returned it back,
Like March 15th, say that's.
like March 15th, yeah.
Okay,
So the dates, just to recap, would be revised to January 15th, February 15th, February 28th, and March 15th. And then the other modification would be prepared by internal audit.
I'll make that
Yep.
motion.
Okay, motion to approve, Andy?
I'll second.
yay.
Thank you, Davis.
I'm here.
Tom Moses,
Yes.
Bob Reynolds,
Yes.
Cam Hall,
Yes.
Norma Kelly,
Yes.
Bob Hutchison.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Curveball here, we have the existing conflict of interest policy that we do need to remove now, similar to the code of ethics, again, because it's being replaced by this new combined policy for code of ethics and conflict of interest. Can I have a motion to remove the existing conflict of interest policy?
I'll make motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Bob. Tom Moses,
Yes.
Andy Palmer,
Yes.
Davis Podkolski,
Yes.
and Bob, did I catch you, Bob Reynolds? Cam Hall?
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss anyone out there? I'm jumping to the next one. Bob, you're on mute. Bob Reynolds.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. I think Jennifer muted you.
I agree with that. I got legal counsel.
Stop him from talking.
I'm trying not to talk much.
This is actually no, I think the communication comes through much better than I anticipated. Next, Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency Defense and Indemnification of Officers and Employees Policy. Questions or comments? Pretty short and sweet.
Anything, is there a change to this? Is this new or what?
No, essentially what we would do, Cam, if the board deems no changes, we would just re-adopt this. It was last adopted in 2007, so it just shows that we're putting due diligence and it's, that we're putting eyes on this and reviewing the policies here.
Okay, I'll move that we approve this.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. And Andy?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Bob Reynolds?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Bob Hutchison?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency Employee Compensation Program. Any questions or comments?
Nope. I move we approve this.
Second.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Andy. Tom Moses?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Bob Reynolds?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Hutch?
Yes.
Next, Financial Disclosure Policy. Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency Financial Disclosure Policy.
I'll move we approve this.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Bob Reynolds. Mayor Moses?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yep.
Davis?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Bob H?
Yes.
Last one. Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency Finance Committee Charter. Okay, in my notes, I had no questions or comments on this. Double checking.
So moved.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Bob.
it.
Thank you, Norma. Tom?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Bob H?
Yes.
Thank you. Just an item that there wasn't noted in here was in the Financial Committee and the Audit Committee. There's language to an annual self-evaluation of the performance. So essentially, the members of that committee should be performing a self-evaluation. What Mary and I are working on drafting is just almost a check sheet of the critical activities and then an opportunity to provide any comments. So it can be something as a matter for the record, just to say that you've done the critical components X, Y, and Z, and provide an opportunity for comments if needed. And that should essentially button us up and get us up to date for these first several policies of the agency. So thank you for bearing with me with that. Is there any need or request for executive session? Could I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Tom, in favor?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
All right. A motion to open the Hamburg, New York Land Development Corporation meeting at 8:35 a.m.
I'll make a motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you, Davis. Minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Motion to approve those.
Thank you, Cam.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thank you, Davis. Mayor,
Yes.
approve?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Bob Reynolds?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Bob H?
Yes.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick updates. We made a couple additions to the application. We have submitted a grant request from National Grid for some funding assistance to help market the project. This includes updated signage and updated video and website information for the project. We had talked about this. Our application is now submitted, so we're waiting to hear back from National Grid. I believe it was around $4,500 in terms of a grant for some marketing dollars for the Land Corp. The Carwell contract. In a previous meeting, we had approved for the executive director to sign a contract of sale for 5.57 acres. We've kind of gone back and forth with some minor modifications with the potential purchaser. The last revision that Jennifer and I met with yesterday included some language just in terms of the due diligence timeline related to COVID, and sounded like some standard language that is being incorporated into a number of legal matters and specifically real estate matters. So if they can, if they're experiencing delays in terms of civil engineering work or site development, approvals for the project due to COVID, we would provide reasonable accommodation for that. And that's going to go both ways. We have to do a title search. So, we're going to, having to press our vendors to meet the timeline as well. So hopefully I will be executing this version, and I believe they will be executing, countersigning it, and that contract should be signed, which is great. Really puts us in a good position, at least for the Land Corp, for 2020 to get this deal done out of the gate. In addition, even as recently as yesterday, I've been talking to 2 other proposed purchasers of some land in the Parcel A, which is the remaining 68 acres. So there's some opportunities out there, and largely in a similar fashion to the IDA business, largely things are tabled now. They're not off the table. So everything's kind of paused in terms of business development, new business. People don't want to be engaging in obligations, seemingly what would amount to financial obligations at this time, but the interest is still there. So hopefully once the state is kind of returned to normal status, we'll be able to hopefully proceed with one or both of these opportunities. Bob, I skipped over you. I apologize. I didn't get you into the financial report, but did you want to speak to the audit? And you're on mute again, just so you know.
Yeah, just a real quick update on the audit, just so we make an approval on this. Everybody's got everything in front of them, the management letter, everything. 2018, we had $802,586 of total assets. 2019, we increased it to $837,224 of total assets at the year ending December 31st, 2019. We did have a little discussion internally at the executive board as we went over this too. If you turn to the last page a little bit, it says cash in the banks. The auditor put something in here, and I think we have it covered by our insurance, and Sean can explain it more, but it says note 5, concentration of credit risk. Corporations can concentrate its credit risk for cash by maintaining deposits in financial institutions, which may at times exceed amounts covered by the insurance provided by the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. As of December 19th and 18th, the cash deposit was insured up to $250,000. Sean, if I remember right, we have some bonds and stuff on this to kind of oversee this.
We're covered. Right. So you're correct in that regard. So essentially, when we, as we switched our bank account, and as we had our monies with Evans, and now migrated to Bank on Buffalo, these are municipal accounts, so we don't directly incur an expense to provide added insurance to secure these deposits in terms of an FDIC manner. So with FDIC, we're secured up to $250,000. We essentially receive less interest on our account because part of the bank's expense is to provide insurance of our monies in excess of $250,000. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me. Does everybody on the board understand that? I just want to make sure the board, because that was part of the report. I just want to make sure the board understands how we cover that.
Yep.
Okay. Then I make a motion that we approve the audit for December 31st, 2019 as written. And
I'll second.
Thank you, Davis. Mayor?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Cam?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
And Bob?
Yes.
Thank you. And then also for the Land Development Corp, the Paris has been submitted as well.
in the brief finances as of February 29th, just a reminder for the board, we had $381,685 in some liabilities in our assets. So we had some expenses again back then, but we'll get that all up to date as we move forward for March. Mary's been working on the Paris report a lot and stuff like this, so we'll get that out to the board before the next meeting, what our finances look like. Hopefully we meet in person. So there's nothing to prove. I just want to make sure everybody understands we're still doing well.
Thanks for the work.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
And before we adjourn, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday. It's a regular meeting, but I believe it's an evening meeting.
29th or 30th? Nope.
Let me see here.
Fourth Thursday?
The 23rd. Let me flip back to you all. Where are you guys? There you are. Yeah, so I'll provide information. We have the Zoom as a resource. And actually, let's just make the call now because the executive order goes beyond that. So we'll be meeting via Zoom. So just keep an eye out for the agendas. I think it worked out well because the packet was so substantial where I will mail you the policies in advance of the meeting so you have some time to review hard copies and go through them.
So do we need a night meeting or can we still do like a morning meeting like this? Might be easier for a lot of us because we're not meeting in public. Can we do a 7:30 morning meeting on the 23rd instead of because it's supposed to be a night meeting, right?
Correct.
Would you
losing Zoom?
And since we reviewed our bylaws, I would need a second person to suggest that.
Does it need to be written?
Pardon me?
Does it need to be written?
You can fire me a quick email as long as we're.
Yeah, I'm good with the mornings as long as everybody else is. If anybody has a serious issue with that, then no.
Okay.
I'd rather do it in the morning.
I make a motion to change it to a morning meeting since we're using Zoom.
No more roll call voting. I'm losing my voice here. No, that's all we need is two people to suggest it, and we could modify it. So we'll provide an update on our website. We'll notify the local paper as well, right, Jennifer?
Correct.
Hey, everybody listen, is that an issue for anybody?
No.
No.
So it would be April 23rd at 7:30?
Correct.
Still the Thursday?
Yes.
Correct.
Just so everyone's clear.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
We'll be using Zoom at non-peak hours that way.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, Bob. That's why I said it. It's kind of nice. There's no interruptions this way.
Yes. So is there any need for executive session?
No.
All right. I hope we can all get together in May. This is not how any of us, I think, want to operate. So take it day by day, and we'll keep pushing forward in any manner we can, and support our existing businesses out there in any manner possible. We want to keep
One
these
question for you.
operators operating. Yes, Bob.
We did have a governance committee meeting prior to that, to the April 23rd meeting. Should we just do that afterwards? Make that
That would be my recommendation, that we'll have the so looking forward to later this month, we'll approve the February and March financials. We will review budget to variance or budget to actual variance analysis, and cover some more, anything that would come up over the course of the next 2 weeks, our policies, and then following the meeting, we'll have our governance committee, probably around 8:30, say. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Thanks for the work, Sean.
All right. Be safe. Stay healthy, everyone. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Any motion
Have a
to
nice
adjourn?
Easter,
We
everybody.
Oh,
already-
motion to adjourn.
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion.
Adjourn.
Happy Easter.
Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks, Sandy, for that reminder.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.